Have you ever caught yourself talking to your dog like their family, telling them about your day, whispering secrets, or asking if they're hungry again even though dinner just ended? And then they tilt their head, ears perked, eyes locked on you, as if they understand more than you expect. In that instant, you wonder, what do they really think when they hear my voice? Science has something fascinating to say, and what you're about to learn may forever change the way you speak to your dog. Because for them, your voice isn't just sound, it's rhythm, energy, and emotion that paints the atmosphere of their world. 1. What your dog truly hears. When you speak. When words leave your mouth, your dog doesn't process them like we do. They aren't sitting there, piecing together grammar or memorizing the dictionary you've unknowingly built around them. To your dog, your voice isn't a puzzle of syllables. It's an atmosphere. It's rhythm, vibration, and tone flowing around them like music that paints the mood of the room. Think of it this way. Imagine standing by the ocean, waves rolling in, one after the other. You don't focus on each drop of water. You feel the motion, the rise and fall. That's how your dog experiences your voice, not as a list of words, but as an emotional current they swim in every single day. Science confirms this intuition. Researchers have discovered that dogs, much like humans, use different parts of their brains to process sound. One side for the basic meaning of signals, and the other for tone and intonation. But unlike us, they lean heavily on tone, letting the music of your voice guide them more than the actual content. Whisper "good boy" with warmth and softness, and you light up their brain's reward system. Say the same phrase in a flat or harsh tone, and the meaning dissolves instantly. This is why your dog perks up when your voice carries excitement, or why they leave the room when frustration slips into your tone. To them, your voice isn't just communication, it's weather. A calm, gentle breeze means peace. A sudden clap of thunder, even if not aimed at them, signals caution. Over time, they learn the climate of your emotions and store it as memory. So, when you talk to your dog, remember, they're not simply hearing words. They're feeling your state of mind. Your laughter, your sighs, your pauses. These are the true messages that shape their world. 2. Why dogs react to certain words. It feels almost magical, doesn't it? You say your dog's name, and suddenly their ears twitch, their eyes brighten, and their entire body seems to tune into you. You whisper words like walk or treat, and it's as if you flipped a switch. Excitement ripples through them instantly. But if, as we've just seen, dogs don't process language the way humans do, then how can a handful of sounds carry so much meaning? The answer lies in something scientists call associative learning. Dogs don't memorize words like we do. Instead, they build connections. A sound becomes linked to an experience, and that link grows stronger with every repetition. For example, a border collie once stunned researchers by demonstrating recognition of more than 200 words. Not because he had mastered vocabulary, but because each sound carried an emotional or practical memory. Ball meant play. Sit meant focus and reward. Outside meant adventure. Your own dog is doing the exact same thing every day. When you repeat a word with love, you're not just giving a command, you're weaving a shared history. The word home becomes more than 4 letters. It becomes the hundreds of times it carried safety, warmth, and relief. The word buddy becomes a photograph in sound, etched with the moments you've whispered it while scratching behind their ears. This is why your dog doesn't simply know certain words, they feel them. Each familiar sound is stitched together with your tone, your smell, even the rhythm of your footsteps. To them, language is less about syllables and more about memories. And here's the beautiful part. Every time you speak a word that matters, you're reinforcing not just training, but connection. You're telling your dog, this sound is ours, and it carries the story we've built together. Every time you speak a word that matters, you're reinforcing not just training, but connection. You're telling your dog, this sound is ours, and it carries the story we've built together. If you're enjoying these insights, consider subscribing. That way, you won't miss the next discovery about the hidden world your dog experiences every day. 3. The real language of dogs. If words are only fragments of the picture, then what truly matters to your dog? Long before they curled up on couches or followed us through busy streets, their ancestors lived in packs where survival didn't depend on spoken language, but on signals. Posture, energy, tone, and rhythm were the vocabulary that held a pack together, and that ancient system never left them. Today, when you speak, your dog doesn't rely only on their ears. They're reading your entire being. The rise of your shoulders when you're tense, the sigh hidden in the middle of a sentence, the way you pause between phrases. These cues all become part of the conversation. For them, your body is as loud as your words. Science supports this. Using brain imaging, researchers have shown that dogs' auditory cortex responds not only to the sounds they hear, but to the emotional tone inside those sounds. In simple terms, they feel your mood before they decode the message. Think about that for a moment. When you say, "It's fine," your dog isn't fooled if your breath trembles or your tone falls flat. They're not listening for vocabulary, they're absorbing the climate behind it. To them, your voice is like the sky. Steady warmth signals calm, while a sudden storm sends them searching for safety. This ability is why dogs so often notice changes in us before we admit them to ourselves. A subtle shift in energy, a voice that loses its usual rhythm, a heaviness in how we move. They map these changes with remarkable precision. Over time, they build a kind of emotional atlas of their human. Your dog isn't just memorizing tricks or routines. They're memorizing you, the unique pattern of your tone, your gestures, your posture. And that is their true language, the living rhythm of who you are. 4. When dogs sense. What we cannot say. There are moments when your dog notices something you thought you had hidden. Maybe you tried to shrug off the weight of a difficult day, or plastered a smile over quiet sadness. But before a single word left your lips, your dog was already at your side. They read the slouch of your shoulders, the slight drop in your voice, the heaviness in your footsteps. To them, silence is not empty, it is full of signals. Science continues to back this up. Researchers have discovered that dogs can detect chemical shifts in our bodies. Stress releases hormones like cortisol, altering the scent of our breath and sweat. In studies, dogs identified these changes with startling accuracy, proving they don't just sense our moods, they can smell our emotions. But beyond the data lies the lived truth that every dog owner knows. After a loss, a heartbreak, or a night when tears fall quietly, your dog doesn't ask questions. They don't offer solutions. Instead, they lean against you, curl at your feet, or rest their head on your lap. In their stillness, they create space for your pain without judgment. This ability deepens with time. The more history you share with your dog, the sharper their awareness becomes. They know your normal rhythms, the laughter that usually fills a room, the pace of your walk, the lightness in your tone. So when those rhythms shift, they notice immediately. A sigh where there should have been a smile, silence where laughter once lived. Your dog marks those changes like storm clouds on the horizon. And perhaps this is why so many people say their dog is their best therapist. Not because they speak, but because they don't. They enter the gaps between our words and simply remain there, steady and loyal. In a world that often demands explanations, their quiet recognition can be healing in ways language never could. Your dog doesn't need to understand the reasons behind your sadness. They only need to know you feel it, and once they do, they stay. And that simple act may be one of the purest forms of love we will ever know. Your dog doesn't need to understand the reasons behind your sadness. They only need to know you feel it, and once they do, they stay. And that simple act may be one of the purest forms of love we will ever know. Has your dog ever surprised you by noticing something you didn't say? Share your story in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else recognize the quiet ways their own dog is speaking. 5. When dogs answer without words. It may surprise you, but your dog has been answering you all along. The problem is that we often expect language to look like ours, full of sound, clear phrases, and explanation. Yet dogs reply in a language so ancient and subtle that many of us overlook it entirely. A gentle head pressed against your knee, a paw resting lightly on your arm, a long, steady gaze followed by a slow blink. These gestures are not accidents. They are deliberate responses. Each one is a message shaped by instinct and affection, delivered in silence but rich in meaning. Science gives us a glimpse into why these moments feel so powerful. Studies have shown that when dogs gaze into their human's eyes, both release oxytocin, the very same hormone that bonds infants to their parents. That means a quiet stare isn't just attention, it's a biochemical "I love you" echoing in both bodies at the same time. But beyond hormones, there's an art to the timing of these gestures. Dogs don't speak in chatter, they speak in presence. A lean against you when your stress is high. A playful nudge when your laughter is missing. A warm curl at your side on nights when sleep won't come. Each of these is a sentence in their silent dialogue. And this is where the bond between human and dog deepens. Because once you realize these are not random acts, but carefully chosen responses, you begin to see your dog as more than a companion. They are co-authors in the conversation of your daily life. Your dog doesn't just absorb your emotions, they reflect them back in the only language they know. A language without words, yet filled with replies. And when you finally start to notice their answers, something shifts. You stop speaking at them and instead begin listening with them. In that space, the relationship transforms. What was once one-sided becomes a true dialogue, one that doesn't need sound to be heard. 6. The silent messages of the body. If you really want to understand what your dog is telling you, you need to look where no words exist, into the subtleties of their body. Dogs are masters of physical language. A slow blink as they rest near you, a deep sigh when you finally sit down, the way they shift their body just close enough to touch yours without demanding attention. These aren't random behaviors. They are part of a vocabulary as old as the bond itself. Researchers have confirmed that body cues are among the primary ways dogs communicate emotional states. The tilt of an ear, the pace of a tail wag, even the rhythm of their breathing carries meaning. To the untrained eye, these might appear small or insignificant. To your dog, they are sentences, a dictionary of silence written in posture and movement. Think back to the moments when your dog stretched out beside you and only sighed once you were finally still. That isn't coincidence, it's relief. Or the nights they curled tightly at your side, their breathing slowly syncing with yours. That isn't mere comfort seeking, it's alignment, a deliberate choice to share your state of being. Over time, these subtle signals form a map of connection. A paw shifted closer during your quiet moments. A head tilt when your voice carries sadness. A tail wag that doesn't scream excitement, but reassurance. Each gesture is an answer in the ongoing dialogue they've been having with you all along. And here lies the breathtaking truth. Dogs weave their emotions into the smallest details of daily life, details we often overlook. When you finally learn to notice these signals, the bond changes. You no longer wonder whether your dog understands you. You realize they've been speaking to you constantly. Because for dogs, love doesn't need noise. It exists in the quiet press of fur against skin, in the soft exhale that tells you, I feel what you feel, and I am here. Because for dogs, love doesn't need noise. It exists in the quiet press of fur against skin, in the soft exhale that tells you, I feel what you feel, and I am here. And if these reflections resonate with you, don't forget to subscribe. It helps us keep bringing you stories that celebrate and deepen the bond between humans and their dogs. 7. The power of listening back. Something extraordinary happens when you stop talking at your dog and begin truly listening to them. The bond shifts. What was once a monologue becomes a duet, a rhythm you both share without effort. Suddenly, you don't just notice a wagging tail, you see the tempo of it. You don't just hear a sigh, you feel the weight it carries. Psychologists call this attunement, the ability to sense and respond to another's emotional state in real time. And science shows it's not just theory. Studies in animal cognition reveal that humans who actively respond to their dog's subtle cues build stronger, more secure attachments. The more you mirror their signals, slowing your breath when they settle beside you, softening your tone when they lean into your hand, the deeper the trust becomes. This is why moments of quiet presence with your dog feel so healing. When you align yourself with their state, you're speaking their language back to them. For your dog, that recognition is everything. It tells them, you see me, you feel me, you understand me. And here's where the relationship deepens even further. Your dog is not simply a passive listener. They've been carrying half of the dialogue all along. Every lean against your leg, every long gaze, every subtle nudge has been their way of speaking to you. When you finally answer with patience, stillness, or a gentle touch, the bond transforms into something far greater than companionship. It becomes resonance, like two instruments vibrating to the same note. No commands, no training sessions, no need for words, just presence. And in that shared presence, trust grows roots that can weather any storm. So the next time your dog curls quietly at your feet, try not to see it as silence. See it as an invitation to listen and to reply in kind. 8. The emotional memory dogs don't keep journals or replay conversations in their minds the way we do. Their memory works differently, and in some ways, more powerfully. They may not recall exact words or dates, but they store feelings. Every laugh that echoed through your kitchen, every time you opened the door after a long day, every gentle whisper of their name, all of it becomes etched into what scientists call associative long-term memory. Research suggests dogs have something similar to what we call episodic-like memory. This means they don't just remember routines, they can recall experiences and the emotions tied to them. For your dog, it isn't just about what happened, but about how it felt when it happened with you. That's why the jingle of your keys or the sound of your footsteps can trigger excitement. Those sounds are tied to thousands of moments of belonging and comfort. But memory is not only built on joy. Dogs also carry imprints of silence, absence, and change. They remember when your voice was strained, when the house felt heavy, or when laughter was missing. These shifts become part of the emotional map they carry inside. And that's what makes their loyalty so profound. Your dog doesn't just recognize you in the present. They carry the story of your presence. They hold on to the echoes of your routines, the lightness of your laughter, and even the pauses when sadness lingered. In a way, your dog becomes a living archive of your shared history. Not just a companion, but a keeper of the atmosphere you've created together. Every return, every ritual, every quiet night spent side by side is preserved within them like snapshots of emotion. And when they look at you with those knowing eyes, they're not only seeing who you are today, they're also carrying the weight of every moment you've ever shared. A memory not stored in words, but in the timeless language of feeling. 9. Loyalty that outlives time. When people talk about dogs, one word rises above the rest: loyalty. Yet even that word feels too small for what truly exists. Because what your dog offers isn't blind devotion. It's memory, emotion, and choice woven together into something that feels eternal. Science helps explain why this loyalty runs so deep. Studies show that dogs don't just remember interactions, they also evaluate fairness and trust. They know who treated them with kindness, who offered safety, and who ignored their needs. Their devotion isn't automatic. It's reinforced with every heartbeat shared at your side, every evening of quiet companionship, every moment you acknowledge them with love. That's why stories of dogs waiting faithfully at train stations or lying beside an ill owner's bed until the very end are not myths or exaggerations. They are echoes of something profoundly real. To your dog, your presence is not just part of their life, it is the foundation of their world. To abandon it would be like losing the ground beneath their paws. And here lies the almost mystical part. Dogs seem to carry pieces of us within them. Ask anyone who has lost a beloved companion, and they'll tell you the house felt emptier, quieter, as if a fragment of their own soul had gone with the dog. That isn't imagination. It's proof of how completely these animals mirror us, hold us, and preserve us inside their loyalty. For dogs, love is not bound by time. It stretches across days, years, and even absence. When they wait by the door or curl in your empty chair, it isn't just habit, it's remembrance. It's their way of keeping the bond alive until you return. Their loyalty is not only about presence, it is about carrying you inside them, as if your essence has become part of their own. And that is why their devotion feels endless, because in their eyes it is. The legacy we leave inside them. If dogs can hold our love, our moods, even our silences so faithfully, then perhaps they are not only our companions in life, but also keepers of our story. They don't just walk beside us, they carry pieces of who we are, fragments of laughter, echoes of sorrow, the rhythm of our daily lives, all preserved within their memory. Science offers glimpses of why this feels true. Studies show that dogs respond more strongly to voices and faces tied to past experiences, even after long periods of separation. What this means is simple yet profound. Your dog doesn't just know you in the present. They carry the weight of your history, stored not as facts, but as feelings. Think of the times they've waited faithfully by the door. They weren't only anticipating today's return. They were remembering the hundreds of times your footsteps meant safety, warmth, and love. When they curl into your empty chair, it isn't mere instinct, it's remembrance. They're holding space for you until you return. And this is why losing a dog can feel like losing a witness. They weren't just pets. They were the ones who knew your routines, your quiet joys, your private sorrows. They were the only ones who memorized the rhythm of your days as intimately as you did. So the question becomes, how do we honor this devotion once we finally understand the weight of it? The answer is simple, yet not easy. We honor it by noticing, by listening when they speak in silence, by answering their quiet loyalty with patience, gentleness, and presence. Every blink, every sigh, every moment they wait by the door is their way of saying, "You are my world." And perhaps the greatest gift we can give back is to let them know we see them too. To look into their eyes and whisper without words, "I remember, I feel, and I will always be here." If this touched your heart, share your own story in the comments below. Tell us about the time your dog spoke to you without saying a word. Your memory may help others see what they've been missing all along. And if you want to keep exploring the hidden language between humans and dogs, don't forget to subscribe. Not for me, not for this channel, but for the bond you share with your dog. A bond worth celebrating, protecting, and deepening every single day.